All right. Hey, everybody. It's great to see you. Hi, IX ambassadors. I am flying solo today. You'll see that my trusty sidekick slash business partner slash what would I do without her partner is off today. It's rally week here in the hills, and I am alone. Normally, I have Shelly in our open office, and she is not. Hey, Julie. She is not here. Hey, Emily. Hi, Kayla. Hi, Shandy. Meg is off to Iron Creek Lake this afternoon with her kids. She has her kids all winter and only gets to see them for a couple weeks every summer. So she's off enjoying the afternoon with her kids at Iron Creek Lake. So I'm flying solo today. I'm so glad you're here. Let's see. We always start with a few announcements while people get in, and then we'll get into the topic of the day. A couple announcements. I'm in Denver next week speaking at a big geospatial conference. So if you're in Denver, please let me know, and maybe we can get together for a cocktail or a cup of coffee. Let's see. Early in September, right after Labor Day, I'm in Toronto for an event, 3-day event up there. So please reach out if you are in the Toronto area. I know we have some Torontoans in the group. Let's see. We always like to promote a couple great things that are happening because we're really big on our philanthropy. So a couple things. Regional Hospital has a foundation, and that's the hospital in big regional hospital in Rapid City. They have a foundation where they raise money, and they're having their annual gala on the 23rd of August. So we will be there. We have a table, and our table's full, but we would love for you to be there. So if you're going to be there or would like to attend, let us know. We'd love to hang out. The other big news is that the fish hatchery in Spearfish has just acquired or signed a contract for expansion up above the hatchery rim. So if you're familiar with the hatchery, it's on the west side up above the cliff behind the hatchery. That land was for sale, and we were really afraid that it would be developed with houses hanging out over the fish hatchery ground. So we have bought the land, and so now we get to create a conservation easement up there. I say we, I'm not physically involved all the time. So if you are from the Spearfish area or want an amazing conservation, get kids out back to nature kind of place, I would welcome your interest, and I'm happy to share with you some of those ways that you can invest your money in a place that has brought and continues to bring joy to people of all ages for free for decades. So I love actual Rally Week is really quiet there. For those of you who don't know Rally Week, it's Harley Davidson's biggest rally. I don't know, Daytona might fight for first place these days, but Sturgis is the old school Harley Davidson rally, and we get about 100,000 people a year that come up to this area. And it's great to see the big biker dudes in their leathers standing next to, a little girl in little ponytails, both enjoying the fish hatchery together. It's a publicly available open site. So it's a really wonderful place to be. I know a lot of you on the call have a lot of good memories of that. Another thing that we're promoting or supporting, I guess, is Cops for Kids, 4 with an E. It's a golf tournament to help raise money for the Cops for Kids programs in the region. So we're also doing that as well. So please look into that or PM us if you'd like more information. I'll ask Meg to share some information about that too. So, all right, a couple professional development details before we get on to the topic. As part of my background and love of project management, I offer in-person project management training. That's PMI certified. If you're into that stuff, you know what that means. I do it 1 week per quarter. So we have project management training camp and guiding organizational change. That's the week of September 16th in Rapid City. So we'll post some links to that if you're interested in the area. Let's see, the other one I'll mention is we just graduated a few IX ambassador facilitators, which is our certification program, our licensee program. And welcome to those people, Karen Moen, and we're working on a couple others, just almost finished, but we're not quite done. So I want to congratulate Karen on becoming our newest certified licensee. And we're open on a continuing basis for people who want to jump in one-on-one, but we also have group programs, and we are going to kick off our next group certification program in September. I know I've talked to several of you who have been waiting for summer to sort of get behind you so you can start the fall right. So please consider, keep your eye out for that program. One other thing quick, if you're in a big organization or even a small one with a board or whatever, we are starting our 2020 strategic planning retreats. So if you would like some help with some fantastic facilitation for your 2020 retreat, please let us know. Okay, I'm trying to channel Shelly. Shelly's my GM. If you got for the new people, thank you all for being here. And she always gives me the list. So I think I got the list. She's off enjoying the rally. She stays at the Chip all week. And so the Buffalo Chip is a big campground that has crazy concerts and everybody from Kid Rock to Snoop Dogg. I think Snoop Dogg's tonight. So anyway, it's pretty wild, crazy time. All right. So the topic for today is culture types and communication. So I took a picture of the questions for the week, because otherwise it's too hard to navigate the live plus the things. And I'm on my own today. So, okay, so culture types generally. So we're just gonna, because we have some new folks in the group, I'm just gonna briefly talk about culture types, what they are and what they measure. So let me grab one of our books here. The book is IX Leadership. For those of you who are new, they're interested, you should check it out. Really fantastic. In fact, if you DM me, I can get you a free version of the audiobook. I think we have a couple left, so reach out and I'll have Shelly send you a free link to the audiobook, which is really exciting. It's really weird to hear the whole, this is Audible, and then it's Meg and Rachel talking. It's mind-blowing. All right, so basically what we've got for you is what we measure in culture types is, at the end of the day, we all have those people that we think are really fantastic, but we don't seem to quite be on the same wavelength, or they just do things that are different than us and they kind of drive us nuts. And it's not anything necessarily about them personally, at least not at first. And so how do we actually get teams to work together better? So that's what culture types is all about. In the big picture of the world, it's really about creating high five cultures and guiding transformation. But the culture types is the basics of how we start with any group we talk to. It's how I think about my boyfriend, and he's an independent and I'm a fixer. And so what does that mean? And so that's the kind of stuff that we talk about right now. Hey, Lori, thank you for being here. So what we have is, what we're measuring is on two axes. And if I'll just, let me find the page in the book. Okay. It's on page 22. We get right into it in the book. You will love it. So I'm just going to point this out. Let me see if I can do it. The Facebook thing is reversed. So this over here, we measure chaos to order, and then we measure team to self. So those are the two axes, right? And those are the two main things that we want to measure, because those are the two things that we feel like are critically important to how we work together and interact and engage and understand each other. So for people that are chaos tolerant to order tolerant, that range, and then we have the team to self. I'm a fixer. I am chaos and team driven. So those are me. I'm chaos tolerant and team driven. In fact, the worst thing you could do is let a fixer get bored. Not good, scary. Independents are chaos tolerant, but self-driven. Now, one thing I'll mention, because we have some new folks here, is that self-driven is not narcissistic. It's not self-involved. It's really about, are you okay being an individual performer or contributor? You don't need that team around you. You don't need people. You don't have that same instinct. Like, if I see a problem, I have to fix it. I have to try to fix it. An independent can be much more like, yeah, that sucks. You guys need to sort that out and keep going. And it's not better. The one way is not better or worse. It's just different, how we're wired differently. Trust me. And I can fix problems that aren't a problem for anybody else. So that's a key. That's a key thing. Let's see. On the order side of it, we have organizers who are self-driven and order tolerant. So those folks are the ones who are totally fine working on their own. They love to use their intellect to solve problems, to create order out of the chaos. So it's not so much that they're organized. So many organizers tell me, oh my God, but my desk is a mess. Don't worry, that's not what we mean. Organizers like to create order out of chaos. So you prefer order, and you prefer to take that order or that chaos and make some sense out of it, because it'll drive you crazy. The stabilizers of the group, stabilizers are team-driven and order-tolerant. Stabilizers tend to dislike change, generally speaking, dislike change, although you can become accustomed to some certain level of change. But the biggest thing about stabilizers is they are just tied in to all of those stabilizery, like really, if you think of who's acting as a stabilizer in our organization or in our team or at our church or at in our home, those are the people that stay consistent every day. They have a routine. They love their contacts. These are the folks that go out with the same people at the same happy hour every Friday night with the same people and have the same Coors Light or Sauvignon Blanc or whatever it might be. So, and stabilizers can be welders, and they can be physicists, and they can be Nobel Prize winners. And so every single category has rock stars, and they have, bad apples. But there's no category that's better at what they do or worse at what they do. We tend to self-select, though, the kinds of jobs that we want. So for me, I started as a remote sensing scientist, so a scientist that looked at satellite data. Well, what I found was everyone around me seemed to love their jobs, and they were so great at it. And I sucked at it, and I didn't like it, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Like all these guys were like, they're building careers on this stuff, and they're so inspirational, and I just adored them. But I didn't fit. And so when you don't know when you don't know this stuff, it becomes very frustrating. And so what I found out was I'm just more chaos tolerant. If I feel like I don't find challenge in the same kinds of things that those people find challenge in. And oh my God, looking back now, I think, oh, if only I had known, right? If only I had known. So it's so important. This is such a key truth for humans to understand and deal with, whether you're leading a group or whether you're just trying to make it day to day. Because a lot of times what happens is, if we're in an environment that stresses us out, as you know, many of you are in that environment, it creates chaos. It creates that tension and stress in all areas of our life, not just in the one thing at work. So if there's a boss we're not getting along with, or a colleague that's driving us crazy, or every morning you go to your office and you have something coming into your door that's distracting you from the thing that you want to do, and you have to deal with this problem you don't want to deal with. All of those things really break down across all of the areas of your life. And so understanding this stuff is so important, and I'm really clearly passionate about it. And I'm so excited that you're here and interested in learning more about it. So let me see. Let me just get right into the questions. I'm giving you a 10-second version of culture types. So what we do is we start with the quiz. Not all of you voted on the quiz, but we start with the quiz that Shelly puts out every Monday. And then Wednesday, we talk about the quiz answers. So if you really drive what we talk about, and so if you have a different question or you want to vote for certain questions, and that's what we spend the most time on, because we're really here to provide value for you. Okay, so what are examples of how culture types have improved communication for a team you have worked with? That's a great question to start, because that's kind of sets up the story. So imagine there's a great example. There's a couple I know, and it's very simple, and I use it a lot, so forgive me if you've already heard it. But here we have a person who is a stabilizer, and she's married to a person who is a fixer. So fixers are chaos people, stabilizers are order people, but they're both team driven, so they have that in common. So Kelsey and Billy, thank you for letting me use you as examples. So Kelsey came in and said, Billy, I've used this, I spent 2 days writing the bylaws for this new amazing thing we're doing. And she was so proud of it and so happy it was done, because as you know, organizations have to have this stuff or they can't operate nonprofits legally. And so she knew it had to be done, and she got it done, and she was really proud of it. And Billy says, no one's reading that anyway. Like, what are you doing that for? And I'm sure he wasn't, well, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if he was that big of a jerk about it, but immediately in that split second, Kelsey's work was devalued and found to not be important. And that meant the time Kelly spent, which of course the time is our most valuable asset, it was wasted. And at the same time then, Billy thought that Kelsey wasted her valuable time and couldn't she be doing something better? So here immediately you see, because chaos people have a really hard time doing things like writing bylaws or what's another thing? Reading reports or anything. Like I tell you, Shelly sent me an email, and Shelly's going to kill me when she hears this, but Shelly sent me an email before she left and said, oh shit, Shelly's on. Shelly said, I'm going to give away a secret now. Shelly says, here's your, the subject was titled social media or something, like the things you're supposed to do while I'm gone on social media. I didn't even open the email. Sorry, Shelly. I didn't even open it because I'm like, I don't even want to deal with it. It's not my scene. And so we have this tendency to, the chaos people don't deal with orderly things, and the order people don't deal well with chaosy things. So here's a secret, everybody. We need each other. We need each other. We need the chaos people to push us, and we need the order people to pull back and to say, no, this is what we planned on doing. If we go down every squirrely path that you pick, we won't get things done. So it's really important to have that pull together so you can grow together and actually push out of your comfort zone as fast as is reasonable to achieve the things that you've already committed to. And this is the amazing thing about the partnerships we have. But the very thing that makes that so exciting also means that you can't get along, or that's not true. It can be difficult to communicate, especially if you're not constantly in each other's space, if you're not pulling in the same direction. And so you can imagine if I come in and say, hey, we've got this new thing to do, let's go. And then you're like, okay, Rachel, that's the 12th best idea you've had today. So what do you want me to work on? Right? So you have to have that. So that alone, that tension is so important, but at the same time, it makes it very, very hard to connect. So just a very simple example of how we can identify sort of that underlying conflict and make it better so quickly. I mean, it's just amazing how fast this stuff can change. We've worked with teams that we have literally seen change in a day. Now, the habit of that change takes time. So you might be used to walking around the whole building, so you don't have to walk by Jen's desk because she drives you crazy. And that interacting with her in a new way takes time. Seeing through this new lens takes time. But it's we have changed the dynamic of a group in a day, and then we usually continue to work with people over time. And so the benefit of things like this, like our live every Wednesday, is that this is a way to get that reinforcement. So a lot of people we work with, we invite to attend as IX ambassadors to join the group so that they can then get that reinforcement every week. So whether you've done that or you're just joining us because we invited you to join us, thank you so much for being here. Okay, so how do I listen effectively so that my team knows they are heard but does not feel their time has been wasted? This is kind of a trick question because for every culture type, that's going to change a little bit. So if you have so the question is, how do I listen effectively? The hardest thing for chaos people to do is listen, because we always want to jump in. We want to jump in and not necessarily override you, but we're so excited. You give us an idea, and then we have an idea, and then then you have an idea, and then we love that stuff. That's what we live for. So a lot of times what I have to do when I work with more order tolerant types is that I have to be sure that I let them speak their mind. And because I can roll right over somebody if I'm not careful. So a lot of it is know your own culture type and be listening to be aware of what culture type you're working with, because a lot of people chaos people want that dynamic, hey, let's talk over each other. No, I'm talking this. Just a minute. Let me get this out. All that stuff. There's a lot of people that do not respond well to that. So Meg has a great tip that she uses. She's an independent, so a chaos person, self-driven chaos. So what she does especially when she's working with an order tolerant person that really is thoughtful and wants to really articulate and have a chance to speak their mind and their opinion in a more thorough way, she actually takes notes. So she'll actually write down what they're saying, so that both creates an effective listening tool for her and also allows her to keep her chaos urges like under control. And so that person has a chance to actually speak out. Of course, a key tool for everyone to use, regardless of culture type, is to repeat back what you think you've just heard, right? And that's a pretty easy and flexible tool you can use. So if someone's telling me, Rachel, this whole thing with this one client is really freaking me out. It's not working. I don't know what's happening. I don't like hash out sessions. I don't know what to do. How do I think about this? Then I can say, what I'm hearing you say is that you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the team dynamic, and you're looking for some tools to help you with that. And so a lot of times it's also taking a beat and trying to sort of understand what they're saying beyond the words, right? And so that's an easy way to make sure that they're feeling heard, is by repeating back how you're interpreting what they're saying, because there's always that layer, right, of who you are. So it might seem a little silly at first, but I think it's a super powerful tool, especially in relationships where it seems like someone's taking something wrong, or perhaps upset about something that might surprise you. I'll use Cappy, my boyfriend, as an example. I said something to him once a while back, and he said, I really don't appreciate blah, 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 something. Like he was feeling like I was, he felt like what I had just said was disrespecting him in some way. I don't even remember what it was. We never fight, so it's hard to even remember. And so by him saying that, and I can say, oh, I see. So I didn't mean it to sound that way. What I meant to say was blah, right? So then you can create that through line of the communication. It's easy to get sideways with people that are not your same culture type, because you just don't have the same worldview. So asking questions and repeating is really, really helpful. All right, you should know that deeply order tolerant people do not ask questions well, because they feel like asking questions might be seen as a conflict or confrontational. And so it might be that deeply ordered people, you can meet with them another day. You can say, hey, Deb, this is my idea. This is what we'd like to do. What do you think? And she'll be like, great. And she'll mean it, but she won't really have it. Like, she needs that chance to kind of chew on it. So great to say, hey, Deb, let's meet on Friday and let's talk about this idea. And then Deb will have all kinds of things to say. But a lot of times she'll feel like immediately challenging feels like a conflict. Chaos people are like, of course you should ask questions. Not the same with order people. So if you're struggling with someone that feels like they're not talking to you, sort of that passive aggressive vibe where they won't talk to you, but they'll talk to everybody else about whatever is going on. A lot of times that is a chaos order disconnect, and think about it that way and try to explore it more in detail that way. If you have specific questions about that, let me know. Okay, once I know my team's culture type, what tips are there for communicating effectively with each type? This is an easy one. We talk about this all the time. So we actually have, if you think about all the culture types, so let's talk about fixers, because that's me. And it's a lot of people in the group also. We tend to attract fixers. We attract all types, but fixers are our biggest group. So chaos-oriented, team-driven. Those people love to fix problems. We love being the hero. We love coming in, taking the big gnarly problem, figuring out how to solve it, and saving the day. So if you can have your fixers on your team really own a project that, takes care of people and helps solve people problems, that is by far the best kind of project to support them in. They're also driven by that team helping other people stuff. And so that's another way to think about communicating with them about what's important. Independents are those chaos tolerant, self-driven types. They like owning a project themselves. They don't have that need to touch back with the team. So they're like kind of the true disruptors in the sense of they just want to create something new and different because they just love that whole new and different space. But they don't necessarily tag back to the group as easily. So one of the criticisms or the challenges independents have is that often they're criticized for not mentoring people or not spending time with their team. And so that's kind of a hallmark of an independent or organizer because they are self-driven. They don't need to be with other people, so they don't really get what other people need. So that is one big challenge that you should be aware of. On the other hand, you have fixers out there who want the independents to come out to lunch every day. And independents are like, no, I'm cool, I'm not going out to lunch with you. And so that's also, I mean, we can also sort of infringe on their the way that they like to behave as well. Organizers are order tolerant, self-driven. Organizers, they want to be communicated in a way that's very logical. They want to understand the reasons behind things. They want, if we're going to change, I want to know what was broken before. How is this going to fix it? They tend to be much more logical about how they work through things. They tend to be more driven by not necessarily ambition, but money or position. People on the team side tend to be driven by how everyone's doing, and there's a lot of us even on that side that are like, I care about that, but that's not my driver necessarily. But organizers are definitely much more self-driven, intellectually driven that way. Stabilizers, who are team-driven and order tolerant, I can almost hear people that know saying it to me. It's order tolerant and team driven. They are really motivated by social connection, social order, predictability. They want to know exactly what's going on. I mean, these are the people that if you said, hey, can we put a meeting on the calendar in 20 minutes? Because I got something that came up. They'll probably be like, no, my calendar's booked today. Let's do it tomorrow. Like even that amount of chaos, a lot of stabilizers are not interested in. Now, if you do that all the time to them, they sort of expect it. But if it's an unusual request, that would really stress them out. So they're very interested in predictability and stable social circles. Man, when their social circles get disrupted, they really freak out. And so I think that's an important thing too. So communicating with the stabilizer is much more about how is the team going to be affected as a group, and giving them time to process things. So maybe so if you have a big rollout, you want to get them involved early. They resist change the longest. We all resist change a little bit depending on our type, but stabilizers resist change much, much longer. So you want to get them involved actually earlier, even though you might think, well, you just won't worry about them. It's like, nope, you want to get involved earlier because they take a long time for change. So those are the 4 types and some tips about how to communicate with each of them. Okay, so this is my favorite question. What are the warning signs that I am communicating incorrectly with a fixer, stabilizer, independent organizer? Well, that is pretty obvious because normally you're driving each other crazy. So, but the trap is that we can actually have like fixer to fixer conflict too, right? So it's not just that we don't communicate across the graph, it's that we actually don't communicate. There's challenges internal to the fixer onlys too, and we can talk about that in just a second. We try to keep this to 2.5 hours, which is really hard for this topic, so I'm gonna try to speed through this last little bit. So the important thing about miscommunication across culture types is that it is not about you or me. It is about how we intrinsically see the world. So one of the things we talk about in the part 3 of the book is called the Mad Hatter Principle. The Mad Hatter Principle assumes that you are dealing with something and your behaviors have nothing to do with me. Now, that might not always be true. I might be driving you crazy. But by and large, if Meg comes to work late every day, That's not about me. It's not that Meg's trying to make my life hard by being late. It's usually about her. And let me tell you, for Meg, she's an independent. She loathes constraints. So if I say, you should be here at 8 o'clock every day, I swear to you, she could do it because we're all self-evolved humans, but she will hate every minute of it. And she will resent me for making her do it. Now, if I do it because I told her to do it, she'll resent it. If she needs to do it because of something she's passionate about, no problem. So the trick is disconnecting your ego from other people's behavior, right? So Shelly is amazing. She's a fixer with stabilizer tendencies. So we can really drive her crazy because we're all over the place. And she's like, listen, you didn't even read my email about social media this week. I don't even know what to do with you people. And so, that is, now we're all vested in each other's success. We're all pulling together. We all value each other. And so we have that base where that miscommunication, when it happens, and it will, you can't avoid it, you can be smart about it. And you have this base of culture that we believe in. And so, of course, often when you have this rampant, stressful miscommunication across all these different types, it's all in one organization, it's almost always because the organization needs culture work. Now, no one calls us and says, hey, we need our culture fixed. Some people do. But mostly it's our retention is low. We have high turnover. We can't get anything done on time. We have our high-performing team is not high-performing anymore. We just got bought out. We have no idea what to do. All of those things create, like, when you overlay tension in a workplace, whether it's by design or by accident, it makes everybody retreat to their corners. So if Meg and I aren't getting along, which happens, especially when we don't see each other all the time, we get at odds. I'm trying to fix everything. Meg wants her independence, and we can actually kind of get into some loggerheads about what the hell is going on in the company. Now, we see each other all the time and we're hugely vested, but that still happens. So what we do is, when there's stress, she gets more and more independent and I get more and more fixery. And that just tends to drive each other crazy. So what often happens is if you understand this culture type stuff, it allows Meg and I to sit on the couch together or on my front porch and say, hey, I feel like we're disconnected. I don't like it. She can say, I agree. We're disconnected. I don't like it. How do we move forward? Instead of it being Meg hates me because, or that bitch hates me because, sorry, Shelly, I cursed. That mean lady hates me because, right? And so it's so important to disconnect yourself from other people's behavior because it's almost always something they have going on. Now, if Shelly started showing up every day late, I would be really concerned because she, with a fixer, with stabilizer tendencies, she feels that timeliness and being here every day is very important. And if she acted like she didn't care about that all of a sudden, I would know that there's something going on with her. It wouldn't be, oh, she's showing up because because I'm pissed or because she's trying to piss me off. It's because she's got something happening and I need to check in with her. So it's just amazing gift to yourself to take yourself out of other people's behavior and look at it from my coach would say, from the magician brain, right? From hey, there's something going on there that I don't really understand. It's not about me, right? It's a beautiful gift to yourself. And so when you are not engaging and not communicating well with other culture types, that's the first thing. We have a free assessment on the webpage. If you go to rosegroupintl.com, I think it's in the welcome email, click on the link and go do it. It's free. Find out what culture type you are. A lot of you did that, which is so cool to see everybody coming in with their results. But have your spouse / coworker / whoever, boss, take the assessment too. And it is so eye-opening because all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's why Nadine loves to have people in her office all the time. She's a super high chaos person. That would drive me crazy. I am a chaos person, but I'm not that high chaos. I need time to actually get work done. this woman, Nadine, that is part of our team in a totally other state, she's a seriously probably our highest chaos person. And so I asked her, one of her colleagues, to explain sort of who Nadine was in her words. And she said, oh, well, she always has someone in her office. She's always brainstorming. She's always whiteboarding. And I'm like, oh my God, that explains it. So it's immediately you start connecting these dots with people about, oh, that's why you do that. That's why you do that. It's not about me, or it's not about the situation. It's about how you are intrinsically. And I tell you, that is crazy eye-opening and exciting. What else? Other ways. I guess the one thing for fixers, like we see a lot of fixer on fixer fighting. Usually that's because the two fixers are trying to fix different things. So if you have a company where you've got a VP of HR, a VP of Ops, and a VP of IT, they can actually get at loggerheads because they're trying to fix their own stuff and focus on their own people, and they're not all pulling together. And so we see a lot of misalignment at the executive level within a fixer team because they're all focused more down than up and out, and how are we all moving together? So that's a lot of how people can get at odds, is we're not really pulling together. In fact, I can see that in my personal life as well as my work life. If we all feel like we're valued and we understand our role and how to make whatever we're in successful and thrilling, and we're all on the same page with that, it's easy to get at odds, but it's so much easier to come back together. So if you're struggling with a miscommunication challenge with another person, feel free to reach out. Happy to DM me. If you want to ask a generic question, ask it in the group, and we'll tackle it in the group if you can feel like other people can learn from what you're experiencing. We have 1,000 examples of how this works and how to think about it. And if you're a fixer and you're working with an organizer, what are those? There's just far too much to talk about on a half-hour live, which I've now gone 37 minutes. So anyway, if you want to know more, again, if you want an audiobook version of the book, DM me. I'll pass you on to Shelly, who can get you the audiobook version for free. And I don't know how many we have left, but not very many. And then, of course, the book is always available on Amazon or through Barnes & Noble. And then it's also in Kindle. So it's really fun. I think you love it. I think it's going to be I think it'll really blow your mind if you haven't read it yet. For those of you who have read it, I know that you're constantly looking at intuitive things. How do I think about this in a new way? And so once you start seeing through the culture type lens, it really changes how you see the world and how you think about things. So I encourage you to ask lots of questions, be in that area of inquiry and creativity. And yeah, I'm so glad you're here. Let me think, how do I want to end this? If you have any questions, type them in quick. It's like a weird 30-second delay. So if I don't get to you and I hang up on you, sorry, I'll finish our conversation with writing. I think the one thing I'll tell a quick story about to close is my talk next week in Denver is a geospatial conference. So think digital maps, whether it's autonomous cars or Google Maps or anything that uses kind of geographic location. And so that's the kind of talk it is. And I'm actually giving a talk about how we have all these startups like SpaceX. Those are like fixer companies. And we have all of these big, huge enterprise companies that are much more stabilizer companies. And so not only does this work culture types at an individual level, communication and integration, it also is hugely important on a company level, because the culture clash between SpaceX and big enterprise organizations are like Clash of the Titans, right? And so part of the cool thing about understanding culture types is you can also apply it up at the organizational level too. So regardless of what role you play in your organization, whether you're a solo entrepreneur or whether you're an executive at a huge company, this stuff is super valuable and I think super insightful, and I hope you really dig it. So, all right. Thank you so much for being here, guys. We're here every Wednesday, 2 o'clock Mountain Time. What's that, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific? Oh, yeah, I think that's right. Time zones are my kryptonite, but I think that's right. And so anyway, so we'll see you back. The recording stays on the page, so if you miss one, you can always come back and check it out later. All right, thanks everybody. We always sign off with saying lead powerfully and go change the world. Thanks.